On my wedding night, just as the music died down, someone slid an envelope under my hotel door. It read, "Before you sleep beside him, you need to know the truth." I nearly dropped it. My bridesmaids were drunk in the hall, my family asleep, my husband showering. But the handwriting was familiar. Hauntingly so. My pulse hammered as I stared at the flap. Whoever wrote this wanted me to open it now, before the night was over. I didn't rip it open right away. Instead, I set it on the dresser and stared. My veil lay tossed on the chair, my bouquet wilting in the corner. And for a moment, I wondered if I was imagining it all. Maybe it was a prank. Maybe I was tired. But the weight of that envelope was too real, the warning too sharp. Everything about the day had been perfect. Or at least it looked perfect. The hall glittered with candles and flowers. Guests raised glasses like they were toasting a fairy tale, and I wore the smile everyone expected of me. But under the surface, tiny cracks had been there all along. Daniel, my new husband, looked flawless in the world's eyes. Tall, confident, the kind of man people trusted without question. He had been sweet through our engagement, attentive in every public moment. Yet I had noticed flickers. Moments when his expression slipped, when his eyes carried something guarded. I'd brushed them aside. Tonight was supposed to erase doubts, not deepen them. The truth was, I had been fighting off unease all day. My sister barely looked at me during the ceremony. My mother, usually obsessed with control, seemed strained, distracted, almost fearful. Even as I walked down the aisle, I had this strange feeling, as though the smiles around me were masks. Now, sitting in the hotel suite, with the shower running behind the bathroom door and the hall outside finally quiet, I couldn't shake the dread. Someone had waited until this exact moment, when I was alone, when no one could interfere, to push this envelope under my door. I picked it up again, my hands trembling. The handwriting dragged me back in time. Notes I used to find on my pillow as a teenager. Cards tucked into books. It wasn't just familiar, it was intimate. Someone close to me. But who would dare do this tonight? The sound of water stopped. Daniel's humming faded. My seconds were running out. I could either read the truth before he stepped out, or shove it away and pretend it never came. My chest tightened, my heartbeat in my ears. I slid a finger under the flap, hesitating just long enough to know this moment would divide my life in two, the part before the letter and everything after. I opened it. The paper shook in my hands as I unfolded it. The handwriting curved across the page in tight lines, rushed but deliberate. My eyes darted to the first words, and my blood ran cold. "You don't know him the way I do. You don't know what he's hiding. Before you give yourself to Daniel, you deserve the truth. He has been lying to you, and not with a stranger, with someone closer than you can imagine." I froze, scanning the words again, sure I had misread. But no, the ink was clear. My chest tightened until I could barely breathe. This wasn't about a business deal, a hidden debt, or some careless fling. Whoever wrote this wanted me to believe Daniel's betrayal was personal. I skimmed further down, desperate and terrified. "It's your sister." The room tilted. My grip faltered, and I almost let the page slip from my hands. My sister? No, that was impossible. She had been my maid of honor, the one who zipped my dress, who tried, though stiffly, to smile through the day. She'd grown quieter these last months, but I thought it was stress, not guilt. Now, every moment replayed differently in my head. Her pale face during the vows, her avoiding Daniel's gaze at the reception, the forced hug she gave me before I left for the suite. I pressed the letter against my chest, my mind spiraling. The words continued, each sentence carving deeper. It didn't end between them, no matter what he tells you. They started before you, and in some ways it never stopped. Ask her, watch her face, you'll see it all. If you ignore this, you're walking into a marriage built on lies. The handwriting struck me again, Sharp strokes I recognized from years ago. My cousin Leah. She and I had grown up close, but recently she'd pulled away, especially after tension erupted in the family over money. She had every reason to resent me, but also every reason to warn me. If anyone had been watching quietly from the sidelines, noticing the unspoken tension between Daniel and my sister, it would have been Leah. But why tonight? Why wait until I was already married, already trapped in a gown that suddenly felt like a costume? The bathroom door clicked. My body jerked, panic flooding me. I crumpled the letter slightly, shoving it under a pillow just as Daniel stepped out, towel slung around his waist, steam curling into the room. His hair dripped, his smile easy, as though the world outside didn't exist. "You look pale," he said, tilting his head. "Everything okay?" I forced a smile, but my throat was dry. "Just tired. It's been a long day." His eyes lingered on me. For a moment, something flickered there. Suspicion, maybe even fear. But then it vanished under that practiced charm. He crossed the room, leaned down, and pressed a kiss against my temple. I stiffened before I could stop myself. He noticed. "What's wrong?" His voice softened, but his gaze was searching. I shook my head quickly. "Nothing, really." But the image of the letter burned in my mind, its words louder than his presence. My sister, my own sister. Could it be true? I thought back to the engagement party, when I left Daniel alone in the kitchen for a moment and returned to find my sister slipping out, her eyes wide, cheeks flushed. At the time, I'd laughed it off. Now, it felt like a puzzle piece snapping into place. Daniel reached for my hand, but I pulled away under the guise of adjusting my dress. "I think I just need some water," I muttered, moving toward the table by the window. As I poured from the bottle, my hands shook so badly the glass clinked against the rim. I glanced at his reflection in the window. Relaxed, humming again, scrolling through his phone. If the letter was right, he was an actor playing the role of husband while hiding the worst kind of secret. I clenched the glass until my knuckles whitened. I couldn't confront him yet, not without proof, not with the letter alone. I needed to see her face, hear her voice break, watch the truth spill out of her own mouth. The thought made me nauseous, but it also hardened me. I slid the letter deeper under the pillow, forcing a steady breath. Tomorrow, no, tonight, I would get answers. I wouldn't let this secret rot me alive in silence. Behind me, Daniel called out, "Hey, come here, let's forget the world for a while, just us." His voice was warm, but now it felt like poison. I turned, smiled faintly to keep the act alive, and whispered, "Of course." But in my chest, a decision solidified. Before the night ended, I would face my sister. And if the letter was true, this marriage wouldn't survive till morning. I waited until Daniel drifted to sleep. His breathing evened out quickly, as if the day had drained him of every ounce of energy. But I lay rigid beside him, the letter burning in my mind like a brand I couldn't escape. Each second stretched longer, louder, until I knew I couldn't stay there another moment. Carefully, I slipped from the bed, gathering my robe around me. My bare feet padded across the carpet as I slid the letter from beneath the pillow and tucked it into the pocket. One glance at Daniel's sleeping form made my stomach churn. The man I thought I knew, the vows I had just spoken, it all felt like a performance staged for me. The hallway was quiet. I walked quickly, my dress trailing, heart hammering in my chest. I knew where to go. My sister's room was just down the hall. She'd left the reception early, claiming exhaustion. But the way her eyes had avoided mine all day replayed in my head. I needed answers. I knocked softly at first, then harder. After a pause, the door cracked open. My sister, hair undone, eyes red-rimmed, froze when she saw me. "What are you doing here?" she whispered, clutching the door like she could shield herself with it. I held up the letter. "You tell me, is it true?" Her face drained of color. She didn't even ask what I meant. That was answer enough. I pushed my way inside, shutting the door behind me. How long? My voice cracked, trembling with anger I could barely contain. How long have you been with him? She collapsed onto the edge of the bed, her shoulders caving in. It was before you. Before he ever met you. We never really ended it. I thought I could bury it. I thought I could let you have him, but when he proposed, let me have him? My voice rose, sharp as glass. He wasn't yours to give. You watched me fall in love with him. You stood beside me today smiling like nothing was wrong. You walked me down an aisle built on lies. Her eyes brimmed with tears. I didn't know how to stop it. He kept coming back, saying it was me he really wanted. I thought maybe he'd choose me in the end. The room spun. Every hug, every late-night conversation, every piece of advice she'd given me. It was all poisoned. And worse, my mother's distracted face, her silence today, clicked into place. She had known. She had covered it up, just like she always covered my sister's mistakes. I stepped back, my chest heaving. You could have stopped this, both of you. Instead, you let me marry a man who was already betraying me with my own blood. She sobbed into her hands, but I felt nothing. Not pity, not sorrow, only clarity. I turned, the letter still in my fist. This marriage is finished before it started, and you've lost me forever. When I slipped out into the hall, the air felt colder, cleaner. For the first time all night, I could breathe. Back in my suite, Daniel stirred, blinking as I entered. Where'd you go? He asked sleepily. I looked at him, really looked, and saw the stranger beneath the charm. Out, I said flatly, and I won't be coming back. He sat up, confusion darkening into panic, but I didn't wait for his excuses. I walked past him, threw my ring onto the dresser, and headed for the door. My voice was steady when I whispered, more to myself than to him. That letter saved me. If it hadn't slipped under my door, I would have woken up next to a man I never truly knew. Instead, I walked away before the lies consumed me. And with that I left, bride no longer but free.